health is not about privilege of being born as a man. We've lost 75 million years of good health for women. Even though women, it's a kind of a myth that women live longer than men.
It's so wonderful to see you driving these initiatives.
We feel that probably yes, there's anything, there's a solution for that. People tend to actually get into misunderstandings and things that probably suddenly you see a devil in your house. It's not. It's about being creative. It's about making something that has got substance, having a discussion. Never create any kind of boundaries that the women in your life are not actually able to speak to you.
What does it take for a man to step into a space often ignored, even by women themselves, and say, "This matters"? This is exactly what our guest from today did, putting menopause, wellness, and empowerment at the forefront of some of UAE's biggest events. Hi everyone, I'm Gaia Lewis, a board certified integrative nutrition health coach, a menopause coach. And on this podcast, we go beyond surface level wellness. We talk real stories, real change. And today's guest brings both. He's someone I've been genuinely looking forward to speaking with, not just for his accomplishments, but for his heart behind the mission. Joining me today is Dr. Harmeek Singh, the founder and chairman of Plan B Group, a global marketing and events agency based in Dubai. He's the visionary behind over 10,000 events, including the iconic Dubai Women's Run and the region's first ever Menopause Summit. Named one of UAE's 100 most smartest people and among GCC's most influential Indians. His passion goes far beyond events. It's about impact. Dr. Harmeek, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
If my research is not wrong, you came to Dubai many years ago with I think a first salary was about 2,500 dirhams, if I'm not mistaken, to a business which is you've done over 10,000 plus global events. Share that journey with us.
See, when I came to this part of the world, which was at a time where I did not have a direction, and you're close, I had my first salary at 2,750, and that made me to just find my own way because I come from an affluential background, with my family actually being from an entrepreneur background, and we were amongst few good families in Delhi. Growing up with a silver spoon, always had a thing that probably I felt privileged. But when things don't go right, so that's when you actually figure out what needs to be done. So I actually fell on the ground like with a thud. And that's where did not know what to do, had never taken orders, had never worked for somebody. And it was always a love story that I have my family business and something is going to happen, when you are in that mindset. But then again, I think it is important. That's a very important chapter in my life, to lose everything, to figure out that there is no parachutes to land. And you need to look at it that probably what you need to do in your life. And the purpose that probably I had to figure out was, first of all, survival. And surviving was very important part, because I came a bit late and I bloomed a little late with being married, having a daughter. So that gave me extra responsibility towards what I need to do in my life. And when I landed over here, so tried to copy a CV, which I did not have, try to get a job. The only thing that I knew that I can talk, and I have got a good skill set on being a salesperson. Maybe I can sell, and creatively, yes, because I am a writer, so I thought that there's a creative instinct to me. But then again, I never figured out that what I can do. So the combination at that point was to work hard. So worked and came, and to bring myself up to a point that after 10 months of work and having not been paid, so I had to take a call, and I jumped out of it, was banned, and created myself to probably now look at what I need to do, because at that point it was 6 months that you cannot work for anybody else.
Yeah.
But I had worked hard, and that working hard worked for me, because I created a lot of things from nothing. So I walked streets. My whole objective was to survive, and to do things that people had not done, go that extra mile. The clients got the service levels from me. I built that portfolio, and then when I left, all the clients was trying to find out where is Mr. Singh.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to get a job which was from the other side, from the client side, and they loved what I was doing. So it was a better atmosphere, 5 days a week, and worked for them for 10 months as well. But eventually, I had all the clients in the portfolio that I had built follow me, and that was not a kind of a uh, in a way, it was not overlapping with anything that I was doing. So I got myself into a salary bracket of 6,000, and then with commissions 13,000. But then I asked my employer if I can work freelancing post my work, and they were 5 days a week, 10 to 5. They said whatever that you do till our work is done. So that was a good support system that was created during the course of that work in Media City. I had 6 months down. I was earning 300,000 dirhams every month, and I had enough cash to then think that there is no other way but to not be on two boats. Very respectfully and thankfully, I reached out to my employers, and they were like, they were so happy. They're still in contact with me, and they see that probably what has happened is something that their support was there. So Plan B was formed.
Amazing. A very inspiring story, right? You are like someone who's, you know, experienced that struggle, and you've again tried to bring something new all the time. Like you are the driving force behind the initiatives like the Dubai Women's Run and the region's first ever Menopause Summit. What inspired you as a man to champion a women's wellness event?
To have been surrounded by very strong women, and to have inspiration come from women in my life. And I've seen that growing up. My mother was the first entrepreneur that was managing and supporting my father in our family business. She was managing our production unit of 500 people
Mm,
at times when, like, just being the orthodox and waking up for a society that was just growing to a part that women can work as well.
mm.
So I'm talking 80s, and that's when broken the stereotype, and she actually ventured out, and it was something that I'm so proud of, that how she built whatever that probably was around us. It was a strong woman, and looking at my team and people in my life has always been something that inspires me. So when you realize that you are at a position that you can actually make a difference, that's when you don't make a difference, then you have wasted an opportunity. So coming up with something, that Plan B and myself, we always have a focus of, if we're doing something, let's have something that probably is making sense, not as a tick in the box. So we are very constructive on the community, on the society, how we can make a difference, and how we can actually just leave a little bit of a mark, that we started doing something that probably people were talking about.
Yeah. But you know, you again, did you ever face like a pushback or skepticism when you're stepping into the space? Like I mentioned, you stepped into a space most of time even women kind of ignore, and you said this matters. Did you ever receive a pushback?
All the time. It is not going to be something that has not been a road that has not been walked before. You will always have pebbles. You will always have things that probably would be maybe a negative, but that's where the focal point comes into play. And I think having 25 years almost as behind, with all the hard work and whatever that has happened, it has made a lot of mental strength towards facing anything. So I am uh, three recessions, one pandemic, and many downfalls in my business has made me feel that probably, yes, there's anything, there's a solution for that.
Okay. uh, what was the idea or the thought behind when you started Dubai Women's Run?
See, it is to do with the ideology of our rulers. They were ahead of times. They were talking about things that probably women empowerment is not a thing, it is the thing.
Mm.
When we talk about now the FNC, the ministers, you see the number of ministers, women ministers. You see how the country's been represented by women. So it was a time that probably I think I was also in the right time, and I'm inspired by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed to a level that probably I have been following him, and I see that the Dubai story is no different than my story. So it's the growth part, and it's to look at that probably we do benchmark ourselves. So at a time where people were thinking about if women could drive in the region, we were talking
Yeah.
about creating a women's only platform, the biggest sporting platform. So working closely with the Athletic Federation, coming up with the things that were happening, it so happened that probably it was falling in place. Uh, so I was not front ending at the beginning, but then again, it started with 200 plus women. And it was to do with the fact that if a platform like this, it's a symbolic feature, first of all. And secondly, women's health. It's not about only women's health, it's also to do with mental health.
True.
So, creating that kind of a platform would only mean that we can actually just create a certain bit of understanding for this to be acknowledged. And at that point, I think the region was growing to a point where things were changing. And I am so happy that today we talk about women in Saudi can drive and everything else. But then again, I can tell you, it started from the hair. It started from all the initiatives that UAE has taken, or Dubai has taken, or our able rulers' vision has taken. I think we all up a kind of a product of that. So Women's Run came up with the fact that probably it was a thought over. And then when it comes down to the medical and the health, mental health kind of stats, that probably justifies this as well. And it made sense.
Like I said, it's amazing. And, generally in a world where, women's health issues are generally, they're often dismissed or underplayed, right? Most of the studies, even, you don't get the right funds in general. How do you see men contributing meaningfully to the change?
I think the social impact has been evident. We look at people warming up to it. There's societies that have been conservative. Education is only just making everything to fall apart and boundaries to open up. Men have been very progressive. I've seen that from women to be in the workplace, to be given certain roles that are only suited for them. That has opened up. I've seen women to probably have been highlighted as leading the pack. From that, there's a journey. It's a mindset. It's also to do with a trigger where probably when you see things, it's an atmosphere. If I go in a place which is a conservative, a kind of a platform, I will have limitations to probably do anything that I cannot and I should not. I have to probably be bracketed. But when you see things happening over here, it's wonderful to see that you have organizations taking their corporate social responsibility seriously. I read last year, it was to do with the fact that there is going to be when you have breaks for menstrual cycle, like you have monthly
Menstrual cycle,
breaks, and
yeah.
that was given.
Yeah.
We have had announcements from the UAE government that any organization should have a woman supposedly to be in the board of directors. So all of these things are making it a fashion statement if people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And they become a part of it. And it doesn't matter if you don't understand or if you don't want to actually do it, but then again, you're missing out. And results are evident. And I think we're leading with, you see Expo, it was led by a woman. And if you see any of the COP21, what happened over here? So we had the women minister. Again, things that probably are only highlighting what has been a progress for last 20 years.
Yeah. Like Her Excellency Reem Al Hashmi was, I think, somebody that we all looked up to. I worked with the Expo for 4.5 years. So I've seen her vision and how she actually helped us deliver, the greatest show in the world.
That's one part of it. But the part that people don't talk about is that when it was stalled, when COVID hit, when things were going so kind of negative, that's when a leader gets up. And she had the backing as well.
True.
And she was not removed. She was not been given out to probably have decimated. But then again, she took it up and she delivered a world class.
Totally. I have lived every moment of the 6 months plus 4 years, with the whole planning phase. Basically coming to the next big event, which I think everybody spoke about, which was the Menopause Summit. A word that was a taboo, that even women did not speak with each other. How was that experience? What was the idea or the trigger behind wanting to, say, let's break the taboo and let's talk about it?
I've always been in conversations. I've always been into exchanging our thoughts with a lot of thought leaders, discussing things, how there are opportunities that could be probably taken up. And one fine day when the co-founders were talking and I was being approached, and they were like looking at not discussing anything beyond a partnership with Women's Run or a woman-centric platform. It so happened that probably I put my thoughts on the table and be like, what are you doing? You need to be a part of it. And again, it's a kind of understanding. You need to understand, and I think everybody should understand. We have been programmed to understand few things the way that we have been doing. Till we don't change that, we cannot make a difference. We are accepting and we are talking about things that probably are always going to be putting us in a loop. But if you break that stereotype, you break that circle, you break that loop, there is a lot of different versions that come out, and progressive as well. So men might think that menopause is not for me. The ideal answers that we received and things were like, why it's a problem. It's a problem getting over.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of things where education plays a big role. So a woman talking about it will always be something that probably will be spoken because it's a woman speaking about it. When a man talks about it, it's to do with that, oh, what is he talking about? Why is he? So anything to do with any differentiation that you're creating. So that was the objective, that why men cannot talk about it. It's a stereotype, it's a taboo. Why not actually talk about it? So at that point, on that table, we discussed about a lot of things. One of the key ideas that was I thought of, that it is not about menopause. It's about that if we understand this properly, it's menopause and then play. Cannot be a pause.
My tagline is called why pause, let's play.
Yeah, let's play.
Anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the kind of understanding, and it makes so much of a difference if we know, if we are aware of it. So the kind of statistics that we have, it is a cause of a lot of broken marriages, broken
Yeah.
relationships as well, because the understanding level goes out and it goes into a point where people tend to actually get into misunderstandings and things that probably, oh, suddenly you see a devil in your house. It's not. And if it's the understanding part, if you actually just coax somebody who's been with you in your life for so many years or how many years, it's your time to actually stand up and to understand. And that's how I think it makes so much sense. Coming from a background where probably I've seen my family members and things, it only makes sense.
Yeah. I think that always creates an impact. I grew up in a family where my dad's from the pharma industry, and we spoke very openly about everything, to an extent that my dad is all about, again, women hygiene and stuff like that. His company, he runs a whole sanitary napkin vending machine company and stuff. So he's also very open. So we've never had a time where we've thought that, oh, this is something that I can't discuss with my father. And I find it I do find it funny when I end up speaking with a lot of people and they're like, no, I can't even speak about this even with my friends or even with my mom. Like in my experience, I've heard where women have not even been able to ask their mother how their journey of menopause was. So it's taking time. It's now finally getting the recognition that it needs, that it's a natural phase of life. And, there's no harm talking about it. It's like pregnancy. People are okay talking about pregnancy. So why not menopause?
This you just backed up on what I said earlier. It's the kind of platform that you get. A conservative kind of a surrounding would always make sure that probably you are not able to do things the way that you would be, or you cannot exercise things. Education. Your family has been educated. Your surroundings have been on a point where they're educated. They can talk about it. So there's no taboo about it. But you talk about where there's a gap of health gap between men and women is 9 years. We've lost 75 million years of good health for women. Even though women, it's a kind of a myth that women live longer than men. But the fact, if we have not been able to address it, you know why? Because conservative society, or where still, I'm telling you, there's a big percentage of places where you would have women to be compromised over men, where probably there's a health issue. Men would be tend to getting the treatment, and women would be no, just take something which is a homemade remedy or anything. That's where it needs to be an educated platform, that it's an equal kind of a platform for women and men to get the same kind of treatment. Health is not about a privilege of being born as a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see any gaps in the workplace that to support women's wellness, especially across GCC?
I think, like I said about the monthly breaks that probably has been, I think the conversation has begun.
Okay.
Also to do with the healthcare products needs to back it up with the better version, because I was just reading, not now, but earlier it was to do with the fact. Do you know that most of the medical kind of researches
Mm.
still happen on the male
Yeah.
features? The models, even animal models, are male. So when it is going to be probably not having a differentiation, it's not about one size fits all.
Yeah.
So if we address this, that women health is not, it's beyond gynecology. It's beyond your birth, giving birth, and things that probably are. So addressing that and having better medical health packages provided also by the corporate, the workplace as well, would only mean that women, when they're peaking in their career on the C-suite, it is going to be probably evident that they have a longer kind of address to probably become better leaders.
Yeah.
It's World Economic Forum as well has just said, if it's been like ventured out, it's been like invested in, we are looking at a $1 trillion increase in the world economy annually by 2040
Woohoo!
if women health has been taken
Yeah.
in addressed properly.
Yeah, because a lot of, even the research or the numbers say that a lot of women drop out during their peak in their careers because of all the hormonal issues that they go through, and they're not able to cope up.
And not understanding as well,
Yeah.
because when things are not in a way, menopause is one great example where you tend to actually be edgy, you have your funny mood swings as well, focal point goes out. So at that point, the workplace does not support you. If they don't, then you choose not to be there,
Yeah.
or you drop out. And that's where I think understanding on a personal, on a emotional level, and medical as well needs to be probably getting into a point that it is a mandatory.
Yeah, I mean, well said. Because generally, in my experience, I've seen that corporates generally, for them, well-being is a tick box. They don't really understand the importance of, looking at women wellness separate compared to generic wellness.
But like I said, we're getting there
Mm.
because it's that when you have a conversation begin, and when you see that people are starting to address and acknowledge, things will probably just unfold. And I'm sure we are very, very close to probably have this as a norm as well. Because if you look at the the government initiatives that have been taken on the paternal leave as well now.
Yeah.
So things that probably have been addressed, which were never a part of. So I'm sure that probably we are around the corner where probably the law as well backs it.
Yeah, like you mentioned that representation of women in the board as well. There's a certain number that has been approved, and as if women are going to be there, that means they need to have the support that they get. Yeah, so interesting. In your journey, what has taught you about listening to stories, to pain points, or to what really women want?
Tricky question. So it is to do with I think we should not shy away from the fact that at times we need to be in touch with our feminine side as well. So when you are talking about emotions, emotions is not something about being weak. Emotions is about feeling. And when you are actually just getting to at least know the people around you, women that probably are around you, or things that probably might be a communication that probably makes you understand them better, there comes out stories, there comes out incidents, there comes out that probably you might have not known about, and things that probably I have been, me about for Women's Run.
Yeah.
I initiated with the cancer run as well. I don't know if you know about this or not, but then again, second year running, we had everybody to run for a cause, run for their loved ones, and I ran for the first time because I was being asked, so you talk. I said no, I'm going to run the talk this time. So I ran this year. I was a spokesperson, and I was a part of Dubai Foundation for Women and Children. There's an international day for women's violence, violence against women, on 25th of November. So we had the Orange campaign, and the way that we addressed it, it's not about the physical violence, mental effect on women.
Yep.
So we came up with a concept called Speak Up. Speak Up is something that probably had stories that will probably just take you to another level. Because when you have a conservative society, and I'm not going to probably just have anybody labeled on that.
Yep.
But you get a stigma that if I talk, I might lose my marriage. If
Sure.
I may talk, I might probably just be the black sheep of my house. Things like this. And when you speak up, first thing that you do, you actually get a weight off your chest. And when you do that, and it's been addressed, and then the call to action for Dubai Foundation of Women and Children, which was exemplary, when it had the call center, and it was to do with the kind of legitimacy and privacy that you can probably have. You can call and you can probably address your. So it was about speak up. It went so well, and I'm talking about not now. I'm talking about 12 years ago. So things have been on the stories that I have gone through. We had a experiential concept of having a big trailer in JBR The Walk, and people had to go through that trailer. And that trailer had a sensory kind of a feature that probably you'll listen to a story of a woman. There's a video, and you will listen to the story. And the way that she depicts, and the way that probably she had been talking about what she has gone through, on the scars that she cannot show because that's on her soul, that's on her mind, made so much of an impact for me, at least, to probably have a listening ear, to have discussions that can probably go on, and to see that probably if there's anything, the least that you can do is listen. And that's where probably you can take away a lot of things. I have a platform that has been there for last 12, 13 years. That's my CSR. It's called Box of Hope. So what we have been doing is for our skilled fraternity, and women also being a part of it, where women have been like duped by bringing them over here. So we are giving an ear, and that part of it is about making sure that hope is there when you listen and you give certain sort of a direction. I can't probably just take away somebody's loan that they have to pay for 2 million, but then again, I can address it or I can guide them. But the problems that I can, it is also to do that probably we are spreading hope around that. And hope for me is the last thing that should die in a society. So listening ear, having to be probably available for people, it takes away 75% of the load. So stories that inspire me, there are many. And I come from a background that probably I do feel, and I do have that emotional connect to see if I can make a difference, if I can do something, or if I can actually guide someone. So that's the least I can do.
Very deep, very, very deep. You've had some, I mean, I don't know how to put that. You know, this story that you shared, it's so inspiring, and it's so wonderful to see you driving these initiatives. I think that is commendable, because a lot of people in this world now are running, trying to just manage their own business. How many people actually think about others in terms of what have I, after me, what have I left? Is there an impact that I created for someone? I mean, there are very few.
I think we all have our tower moments. And that tower moment would always tell you, what's your purpose of your life? What are you trying to do? My kind of story that I have gone and I've lived, I would not do it any other way. All the experiences and all the kind of challenges, the downfalls, all chapters and scars that I'm proud of. That's what I am made of.
Mm.
So when you talk about when I came over here, I come from north of India. So when I was not able to adjust for the weather, harsh weather over here, and I came, I was looking out for a job. I used to walk. And then when I got the job as well, I used to walk in the middle of June, in the middle of July, when people were probably not even able to come out of the
Yeah.
houses. And at that point, there was a break between 1 and 4. So you will come back after 4 o'clock to probably just resume your duties. I used to probably not have money to go back my home, or probably just have a breather. So I used to walk, and I used to probably just give out my cards, trying to see if I can sell something or not. I used to have nosebleeds.
Ooh, because
And
of the
then
heat
I
stroke.
come from a background where I had always had cars in India, and I was like affluential and whatever. And I used to see the
Mm.
cars stopping by, and they are just, and people are in an air conditioned, and I used to be like, what happened to me? And you feel that way. And that taught me,
Mm.
when you have it, you have been given a responsibility. It's not about flaunting. It's also to see that what you can do as a make a difference. So I would put it out in a Urdu word, that you get a position because he has chosen you to be a Zaria. And that is important. When you find that out, and I'm sure that everybody gets to a point in their life when they realize that there has to be something that they have to do and give it back to the society. A rat race of making money, I think money is one thing that probably you do need, but then again, to a point where probably after that you lose that passion.
Yeah.
My passion and my drive at this moment, and has been always, it's about being creative. It's about making something that has got substance. It has to be making something probably at least we have a community angle to this. So I feel very proud to have a very good team with me and have the same kind of a vision, and we try to do our best.
Amazing. I mean, you're doing an amazing job, is what I can say, sitting here. What was the key learning from the events that you've done that helps you grow and make the next event even better?
Many. So relates to me is that probably I had uh, stories. It's a theme for World Cancer Organization as well. Next 3 years, it's all about inclusivity. It's about your stories. It's about stories that probably only inspire, because cancer is one silent killer that still does not have cure for a lot of things. Only early detection and awareness. So when I saw stories of cancer survivors, I heard about that. When I saw that somebody who has actually just uh, battled it, weathered the storm, and comes only to run to show the world that, okay, if I can do it, you can do it as well. So inspiring. I've had women's run where probably I could see that a lot of nationalities, and I'm not going to name any of them, they would not talk to each other,
Hmm.
but running together and actually just being happy about it, being a part of a group that probably does not have any boundaries, any nationalities being named, any color to
Hmm.
be mentioned. The stories of happiness, the stories that probably that gives them that this is one day that they come out of their routine life, they come out of a routine that probably even a housewife who looks forward for this is that we are on the right track.
Hmm.
We're passing on the kind of platform where happiness has been served, where inclusivity is there, where there's no boundaries, where there's everybody that probably is talking about is positives. So these stories inspire you. These stories only tells you, and this is a fuel that you need to go on. And we're growing now for Women's Run. Again, we've got a new title coming on, which is going to be revealed this month. And then we are going to be in Abu Dhabi this year as well.
Okay, I was just going to say, is Saudi also in the
So Abu
plans?
Dhabi is this year.
Okay,
We've had already very positive discussions. So next year, expect it to be in Doha and in Riyadh.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, what's the growth in general? Because it's
We've been getting a lot of inquiries. We've been getting a lot of when are we coming over here, and we have people fly down from Saudi, from Qatar, from places when they see it is not about a run. It's an emotion.
yeah.
And it's a community that we have created. So we are not a one day event. We are a whole year of emotions and a platform that is about knowledge sharing and discussing and to create a better social structure.
I had to tell you this, be part of multiple groups, right, as being mums. We already have a Dubai Runs group already formed who are already prepping. They run together, so that they can at the event, they can actually run the 5K or the 10K that they have planned.
Yeah, no, it's to do with a lot of people do prep up, but a lot of people don't prep up, and we want them still to be there. Showing up is a sign that you're a part of it. So a lot of people we've had to probably distribute amongst age groups and everything else, but it all falls apart, when everybody wants to just be a part of it. So if you're prepped, you're not prepped, you just have a kind of a heart, you got an emotion, and it's a time that probably you are getting your endorphins to be released, the happiness quotient comes into place. It's a time with yourself. And people, when they're prepping up, they've given us stories that probably and there's one that probably I had uh, my team tell me about it, that there was a lady who actually had a lot of things in her life, downfalls and everything else. And suddenly that probably her daughter told her, Mom, come, let's go for a run. And they started to go for a run. They started doing it every day. And it becomes that probably it is an evident part that they have to be a part of the Why Women's Run.
Hmm.
It gives them that kind of joy. And that gave them the positive mindset, a kind of confidence level. And she could actually just be out of her worries, but then again, she can solve it as well. It's to do with the mental health quotient as well.
Yeah. And anyways, this year is the year of community development, right? It's all
Yes.
about community. So I think the feeling of sisterhood, it's all so much more. I mean, you feel the connect. It's a amazing feeling, that we are there supporting each other. And when men are a part of the picture too, I think it's a win-win in general.
It is to do with, because we've got a campaign for men supporting women. So it is growing in proportion as well. A lot of big names are going to be announced on this one. So I think you're right on that. We had a very huge discussion about women supporting women.
Mm.
It's also a part that probably is an integral part of our whole community angle.
Okay. I'm just, we spoke about so many serious things. I want to do a quick, just a little more relaxed conversation, more like a rapid fire round with you. Just whatever comes to your mind in general.
I'll
What
try to do justice. I don't know. I'm not good with it, but then I'll try to do justice.
one word that describes women?
Inspirational.
Hmm. What's more powerful, a mic, a mindset, or a movement?
It starts from the mindset.
Okay, and then everything else adds
It
on.
falls apart.
Yeah.
Because if you do not know what you're doing, a mic will not help.
If you had to create a wellness event only for men to better understand women, what would you call it?
Men's retreat to a better lifestyle.
Okay. Um, One thing men still don't understand about women's health.
That it matters.
Okay. A wellness myth that you like to bust?
That women live longer,
Mm.
but then again, it's to do with the lifestyle and with the healthcare systems. It is not. It's a myth.
Yeah, so it's the quality also that matters than just the numbers. Who are the women leaders who've inspired you?
Uh, I have had multiple women leaders. At the top of the list is my mother.
Mhm.
So she has been a leader, and I do look up to her with whatever that probably has been. I had Indira Gandhi as the Iron Lady. I grew up to that era. I had Margaret Thatcher at that point. I love what Oprah Winfrey speaks. So these are few that probably I do definitely comes to my mind. But then again, there's so many.
One change you like to see in the next 5 years for women in the Middle East?
Uh, to probably get more platforms to lead.
Hmm.
And I think it's to do not about women empowerment. It's to do with a kind of opportunity that has been given based on what you bring on the table.
Hmm. Interesting. What's your go-to stress reliever after a big event? Is it a spa day, Netflix, prayer, long drive, or none? You just go straight into the next event.
No, we need to probably have my mind training is required for me. So I've possibly learned the art of mind training.
Hmm.
So things when it goes wrong, I need to take a pause. And that pause means that probably I can probably just get my mind to tilt into a positive side by looking at small things. It could be just a cuddle with my dog. It could be just a song that probably I listen to. It might be a swim. So it's small things. I do definitely need a break because otherwise I'm going to crumble.
Okay, burnout, right? Craziest last-minute fix you've ever pulled off at an event?
There are many, and I would consider that I would not name the event.
Mm.
But then again, we had an event where the entrance and the exit was different, and we had dignitaries coming across. So we had to just look at it. How do we actually just take the tunnel to the other tunnel?
Okay.
So we had to actually come up with something creative, and I got something that names and the feature was changed. It looked like an entrance in a. So we had to do a quick fix on that, and I had only 30 minutes for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you weren't running Plan B, what would you be doing?
I would have been a writer.
Hmm. Tell us more about your writing, since you mentioned a writer.
We need another podcast for that.
Amazing. Dr. Harmeek, thank you so much. But before we end the podcast, it brings me to the last segment of my podcast, which is called the 1%. Because 99% of our conversation or this podcast is all about women wellness and women empowerment. But the true reality is that men are a part of our lives too. So, what is your 1% advice to the men in our lives? What can men do better to support women?
Communication. Have the openness towards having a discussion. Never create any kind of boundaries that the women in your life are not actually able to speak to you. Communication would mean that you first of all are becoming a friend, and that's where you need to address it in a way, and I think that's where it leads to understanding. Like I mentioned, mindset. Change that mindset to be open, and I think it'll be a healthier life. It'll be a very happy life as well. It's to do with that problem. And you know what, a lot of times we are tight-lipped.
Yep.
We become programmed. We are men. We cannot actually just crumble. We cannot cry. We cannot actually. Trust me, man. try it. The women in your life, try to open up and communicate with them. It's a vice versa thing. You will get comfort rather than actually just finding out a tablet to relax.
Yeah.
You can speak.
Yes. Yeah, speaking does wonders. And like we mentioned right earlier as well, it's a key to any successful relationship when you have open communication both ways. Wise words. Dr. Harmeek, thank you so much for coming onto this podcast and showing us that leading with the heart, with with a mission, is so much more important than just being there.
Thank you for having me. And I don't think I'm yet ready to take my Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm still work in progress.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
To everyone listening, this episode is a reminder that wellness and empowerment aren't just women's issues. They are human issues. And when men step up to support, uplift, and advocate, we all rise. If this conversation sparks something in you, share this with someone who really needs to hear this. Send it to a friend, drop us a review, or just tag us with your favorite moments. You know why? Because stories like this deserve to go far. I'm Gaia Lewis, and until next time, menopause, why pause? Let's play.